This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
You're listening to the Pretend You're Fired Today podcast. And now, here's your host, Lisa Rangel.
Welcome and hello. Welcome to the 9th episode of the Pretend You're Fired Today podcast. I'm Lisa Rangel, host of the Pretend You're Fired Today podcast and the founder of Chameleon Resumes. We are an executive resume writing and LinkedIn profile writing job search consultancy company that helps executives and rising leaders land their next position faster. And today we're shifting from the resume that we covered in the last 8 episodes, and we're now going to focus on getting your LinkedIn profile up to speed before you need it. We're going to dive into how to get found using our ultimate LinkedIn profile cheat sheet. I'm excited to be here with you today to share with you this information, since what I'm about to share with you today will help you achieve what is the dream of every job seeker: to create demand for what you do so recruiters can find you. And when you have demand, recruiters can call you regularly, and you will never have to worry if your company changes gears on you. You have to create that demand. That's one safety net, and your profile is one aspect of this safety net. So today, I'm going to give you the main points from our ultimate LinkedIn profile cheat sheet. And when you ensure your profile has these cheat sheet items, you're on your way to getting found and making a great impression. This will help you stay marketable to your network, which is one of the many ways to have job security in today's economy and proactively take care of your career. In past episodes, I've talked about the only way to truly protect yourself from job loss is to pretend you're fired today and make a list of activities that you would do to start finding your next job while you're still working. Always have this list in the works. Have your resume ready. Have your profile ready. Have your network primed. This is the best path to always be working, having career continuity, and not having gaps between employment. As I've said in episode 1, the first thing on that list is to dust off your resume and get up to speed. And like I mentioned last few episodes, we looked at how to format your resume according to today's trends to have maximum impact. And now we're going to focus on that other equally important document for you to maintain, your LinkedIn profile. Many ask me, which is most important, your resume or your profile? Well, the bottom line is both are equally important. Your resume is the document that you use to market yourself in an outbound capacity. It's what you use when you're reaching out to others, trying to market yourself. Whereas your profile needs to be up to date, but that's the document that helps you get found. It's meant for incoming interest, for outside parties who are coming to you and looking for people like you. They need a place to find you, and that's the place. Most companies now also have application processes that parse LinkedIn profile content into their recruiting system. So when your profile is not updated, you're essentially allowing dated information of yourself to go into a company's applicant tracking system. And I know, now that you know that, you don't want that to happen. So you want to make sure your profile is updated, and we're going to start with looking at the most important items on our checklist. We're going to cover a few of them here today, and for a full list of all of the items that you need to ensure on your profile, and to get a visual example of what a profile needs to look like, after this episode, I want you to go to LinkedInProfileCheatSheet.com, and you will receive our LinkedIn profile cheat sheet outlining everything that you need, including what we're covering here today. So let's get to this. First, you want to make the most of your tagline. Optimizing your tagline with keywords and phrases is very important to keyword optimizing your profile. Your tagline is that 120 character line underneath your name. In your tagline, some also call it a headline. You want to use keywords, descriptors, and deliverables that are going to help you get found by people doing searches for people like you, hiring managers and recruiters. LinkedIn allows your tagline to automatically default to your current job title. Don't let that happen. Instead, use this 120 character area to give a reader a snapshot of who you are, your results you bring, and your personality to further motivate them to read further and click on your profile link to eventually call you or contact you. Hiring managers usually use keywords to find people like you when they're doing searches, right? So you can get direction for keywords to incorporate into your tagline from the job descriptions that you're targeting or from the jobs that you're holding. That's the way you're going to make the most of your tagline. Next, you want to make sure that you have a professional profile headshot. Whether you hire a professional photographer to do this for you or you have do-it-yourself photo that you're doing with your mobile phone, having the right photo attached to your LinkedIn profile is critical. As long as you use a photo that is professional and appropriate for the type of industry that you're in or the type of job that you're applying for. So recruiters and hiring managers want to have a personal connection with you, and the profile photo is an important aspect of starting that relationship before they call you. So LinkedIn recently increased the size of the photo, moved it to a more visually prominent area of the profile, and job seekers need to be aware that not having a profile, or worse, having a really poor picture choice front and center of your profile can have a serious detriment to your search. Including a solid professional LinkedIn profile increases your profile's chances of being viewed by 40%. That's huge. That's huge. So don't miss out on that opportunity by having no or poor profile photo. You want to invest in a profile picture at a minimum, or like I mentioned earlier, have an iPhone picture that you do yourself. But you want to make sure that you choose a photo professionally and properly attired. It's cropped. It's a cropped headshot that's free from blurs. You don't want other people in the shot. You want to make sure your background is free of distractions. Don't forget to look at the background. So next, you want to claim a vanity URL. A vanity URL is basically, LinkedIn allows you to customize a default URL that they give you that's basically really long. Although it has your name bled into the URL, it's also got a series of letters and numbers, and it just kind of looks really long and awkward. LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to customize that URL, that when you use that shorter, prettier URL, cleaner looking URL, most people use their name or variations of it if it's taken, and you're going to use that short, clean URL in your emails and in your email signature line, on your resume. You can use it to bring people to your profile. It's a lot easier to point people to your profile when you have a direct link with your name in it or just a cleaner set of words that you want to use that describe you. You should absolutely change that default URL to the vanity URL. LinkedIn Help, if you go to LinkedIn Help, their instruction center can show you how to customize that public profile URL. Also, additionally, if you go to LinkedInProfileCheatsheet.com, you will see an example of what a vanity URL looks like. Next, you want to have your contact information listed in the summary to make contacting you easy. This is a simple checklist item to execute, meaning you want to make sure that the means to contact you is listed on your profile, ideally in your summary, if you want people to call you or email you. And if you don't want your main email out published in the public, I would create an email address to use just for these types of scenarios and have it forwarded to your main email. So this way you don't have to publish your main email. Number 5 here, you want to create achievement-driven content for your summary and your experience sections in the profile. So the summary section provides you a 2,000 character space to showcase your achievements and key accomplishments. It should be filled with examples of how you've achieved various wins in your jobs. You don't want to simply tell people a recap of your experience. You don't want to list tasks that you've done. Additionally, you can also reference other parts of your profile here. So this way, it will encourage readers to keep scrolling and find those other pieces of information that you mentioned in the profile, but you may be expanded upon in a different part of the profile. Here's where you can start to build your brand. You can outline what you stand for. Your brand is not only what you want to project of yourself, but it's what your employers, coworkers, vendors, and clients have come to know you for throughout your career. Remove the fluff and the cliches from your summary and instead make it jam-packed with action-driven, achievement-focused information and language. Let your personality shine for that prospective employer. Don't just tell someone you're results-driven. Demonstrate this fact by citing results in your profile. That, of course, you can have in a public setting. You want to make sure you be mindful of what you're actually putting in public and that your employer will allow you to do that. And they won't have a problem with the information you're putting out. But you want to show that you have the trait. You don't want to just say you have the trait. Also, logistically, ensure that your best impression is made in that first 363 characters of your profile. Those are the initial characters shown on a profile on a desktop, and a reader will have to click through the profile to read the remaining 1,637 characters on your desktop. Concise, powerful writing is key for these space limitations. This is your first impression. You want to ask yourself, does the first 363 characters motivate them to want to click through and read more? This gut check evaluation, you can determine what to lead with to make sure you're having the best LinkedIn profile first impression. So here's a guide, actually, a few questions that you can ask yourself as you're developing an achievement-driven statement for your summary and your experience sections. For each claim that you have, maybe currently on your resume or your profile, actually, you may have a bullet that seems like a task. For that task, for each bullet on your profile, that's a task or an area of responsibility. Ask yourself, how did you do a good job at that? And describe what that looks like. And you can describe what it looks like by maybe asking yourself the second question, how did I make money, save money, streamline a process, or improve the culture of my organization, or improve the outcome? So these two questions will steer you away from having a job responsibility task in your profile and put you on the road to developing an accomplishment-driven language in your profile, which is really paramount. Also, while you're putting together those wins for your summary and your experience sections, you want to use keywords. Keywords are important throughout your profile, not just your tagline that we started with at the beginning of this podcast episode. In your summary and experience sections, you'll want to use words that will enable hiring managers to find you if they're doing a keyword search. Just a quick tip here, you can cut and paste the job description into a word cloud function such as Wordle.net. And that will help you identify keywords and acronyms that are most prominent in a job description that you'll need to then use when you're writing the content for your profile. Then incorporate these keywords into the content of the summary and the experience sections. This will improve the optimization of the profile. Additionally, you want to use keywords to develop the skills section that is also in the profile. And when you go to LinkedIn profile cheatsheet.com, you will find other ways to use your skills section. It'll give you a visual demonstration there. So use descriptor words that share your abilities with the reader, that show your subject matter expertise, that outline your skill sets as often as possible. Again, you want to focus this information, this keyword information, specifically in your summary and experience sections, in addition to the tagline that we mentioned earlier. And lastly, for this podcast, the last most important checklist item, and most people forget about this part, actually, so let me know if this applies to you. Most people haven't thought of this. You see, 40% of LinkedIn users use the LinkedIn mobile apps, that being LinkedIn Mobile, LinkedIn Groups, LinkedIn Connections. So the one thing that most people forget about when they're writing their profile is you want to make sure your profile is well laid out for mobile viewing, not just the desktop. Most people haven't thought of this. So while information that can be found on LinkedIn when viewed on a computer is the same information that is found on a mobile device, the layout is totally different. So there's a few extra things to pay attention to when trying to make sure your profile reads well on a mobile device. So for example, first 73 characters of your tagline and the first 42 characters in your LinkedIn profile summary, that's what's seen on an initial mobile screen. On the desktop, as I mentioned earlier, you see a lot more characters in those first sections. So you want to make sure that the first 73 and 42 characters, respectively, for those two areas are powerful. You want to motivate the reader to click through to read more of your summary, to read more of your profile, and ultimately reach out to you. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, most people forget about that part, and they don't think of how the profile will look on a mobile device. Yet 40% of users use LinkedIn mobile apps. So keep that in mind. You know, bravo to you for writing this profile before you need it. I really want you to give yourself a pat on the back. And if you're currently not working, don't worry. Don't fret. You now know what to do, and you can make your profile stronger starting today. So let's take action. Let's take action on today's episode. Go to LinkedInProfileCheatSheet.com and start comparing your profile to the sample that I have for you to download there. You will also get other points that I didn't have time to cover today that you'll be able to incorporate your profile. We either didn't have time, because I've always promised to keep these short, to incorporate the extra points in this podcast episode, or simply some of the other points just need a visual depiction. So you need to see it to see what it needs to look like. So you'll have that sample to compare your profile and see those additional items on LinkedInProfileCheatSheet.com. When you're looking at it, ask yourself, what do you have that's similar? What do you have that's in common with the sample? What do you see on your profile, or what do you see on the sample that's missing on your profile? Bring the LinkedIn profile cheat sheet with you for the next episode, because I'm going to show you how to avoid ageism on your LinkedIn profile. So this way you always get the call for that right job. And remember, for the next few episodes of the Pretend You're Fired Today podcast, we're going to continue to go through a list of tactics and activities that you are to do now, as if you were let go today, but do it while you're working, and ensure that you're always ready for whatever the world brings your way. The first item on this Pretend You're Fired Today list was the resume, and you can review in back episodes how to construct that document. In the next episode, we're going to continue with our second list item, the LinkedIn profile, and we're going to focus on how to avoid ageism in that profile. My friend saved me with her priceless advice, Pretend You're Fired Today, and I'm paying it forward with you. I ask you to pay this sentiment forward, share this with as many executives and rising professionals who you feel would benefit from this build it before you need it advice. It's just key. And to get a jump on the second item that we talked about today on this Pretend You're Fired Today activity list, which is to get your profile ready, go to LinkedInProfileCheatsheet.com and download that free sample that I have there. And you will get a recap of today's points, and you will also get additional points that you need to incorporate onto your profile. And we will tackle avoiding ageism in your LinkedIn profile in the next episode. I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you for joining me today.
This is the podcastfactory.com.